Simon Whale here. Good afternoon with yet another Kerfuffle spotlight here today with again Blue Blood Royal Gentry. Hello, Tugs the Blonde Forlocks here. Hello, Mr. Iain White. Great to have you on yet again. How are you?
I'm very good, Simon, and thank you for having me on. Very pleased to be here. What's that in the background behind you? I know it's a fake background, but is it the Sky News setting or something? Or?
Of course it is. It's my Paxman-esque backdrop. It just reinforces my professionalism, I think, Iain, is where we're going with this. So you obviously know that, having been out with me a few times. So Iain, we are here today to talk about you. The title of this is Consultant to the Property Industry. So let's give it, and I don't want you waffling as you do with Watkins' interviews. This is Simon Whale. We want punchy.
Okay, punchy.
Give us the briefest of backgrounds about, obviously, for those people who have been under a rock, where you've come from.
Where have I come from? So started my career with Romans, was a shareholding director and more later in the career an MD there. Moved from there to spend a couple of times as a regional MD. I can't remember what they call it, but it was 5 brands at Countrywide. Helped turn those brands from loss to profit, and then got fed up with the corporate world, which is a common theme, I think, for a lot of people. And as a result of that, a number of people were asking me if I was up for hire as a consultant, stroke trainer, stroke mentor, etc., etc. So took the jump to do that, and I've loved every minute of it since. Really, I really enjoy working with with independent, smaller businesses, good people, but I really enjoy doing it. So now I'm a consultant who helps estate agencies achieve whatever it is they want to achieve, really, and that is very varied. It's quite, everyone thinks, well, they just want to make more money. Well, actually, that isn't necessarily what everybody wants to do. But so now, as you quite rightly say, I'm a consultant to the property industry.
So what else is there in that priority list of, obviously, apart from the ones that say I want a double turnover, quite a nice, lazy, obviously, thing there. What are the other things that people will talk to you about? What are some of the more common challenges you face?
I think for a lot of people, it's about getting some of their work-life balance back. So I think they've built an agency, but it's very much founded upon them, and therefore they've become prisoners in their business. So their remit to me isn't necessarily to go and build a double turnover, as you put it. It's more to create a succession planning or systems and processes where the business can run either without the business owner there at all or without the business owner there 24/7. So that's a very key element. If people are looking to get some time back but without damaging their income potential, that's an area where I can help them. Others want to fall back in love with the industry. They may have been jaded by the various changes or attacks, if you want to call it that, the various I suppose the pace of change has worn them down a little bit, and they want to get back in love with it, and therefore they want somebody to take the strategic reins while they do the actual act of being an estate agent. In other areas, they want us to upskill their current people so they do the act of being an estate agent, but to a higher level, so the business owner can become the strategist. And of course, there are people that have got absolute big plans to double, treble, quadruple market share, turnover, number of locations, and everything in between.
Is it wrong to have such a targeted but lofty ambition as that, or is it just then okay? That's absolutely fine to have there, but you need to obviously always plot back the steps that get you there.
It depends whether it's a sort of dream or a goal, really. I mean, if it's a dream that you're just going to go to bed every night and hope to God it happens, well, frankly, good luck. You might get lucky, you might not. But if it's a real ambition and a real driven ambition that's got substance, and you've got implementation, and you've got, you're acting on a real, plan to get to that, then I don't think there's any ambition that can be too lofty. I think people are much more capable of achieving than they believe. It's just a question of unlocking the potential. But there are a lot of people that want to double their turnover but don't want to do the yards that you need to do that, and that that is a pointless exercise. But those that have worked with me that fit that camp will be honest enough to say that I told them they need to reassess the goal because they're not going to do the yards. Other people, we've said, hang on a second, you're doing so many yards, your goal is too small. Let's build big. Let's build bigger. So depends on the individual, Simon. You know, it's all flavours of the rainbow. The market, the estate agency world is a very eclectic mix. You're a great example of one end of the spectrum. So look,
have you rejected people, Iain? Have you? Does it come up often where you just say, you know, I don't think we're going to get on, or are you all able to move past that?
No, I have passed on opportunities. I mean, I've never used the word "you're rejected." I've either done a number of things, which is price myself out of contention deliberately to avoid the need to say no. That's one way of doing it. And the other one is to be honest and say that your business can't. You know, you're not in a state of mind where you can either afford or I'm not the right solution for you. So yes, in a simple terms, yes, I have turned down business. In fact, I would say I've turned down more business than I've accepted.
Now I realise why I got that bill for your consultancy that I did. Thank you for turning me down without having the nerve to tell me. Iain, to you, what makes a great agent?
Honesty, I think, is number one. I think honesty and empathy and sincerity is one. I think they need to be willing and able to understand that all of the problems and all of the solutions are within their gift. You know, let's not blame anybody else. Let's get all the barriers out of the way about, you know, the best people I work with don't blame anyone for the good performance. So they don't blame anyone for the poor performances. There's never a barrier to a good performance. And when the good performance comes in, they're great enough in their mindset, particularly the leaders, to step aside and allow the team to take the glory for the success, but they take all the pressure for the failures. So I think it's a robustness around, you know, being able to take the highs and the lows. I mean, I think one of the reasons people fall in love with this industry is because, you know, you can be on a high of highs on a Friday when you hit your record exchange month and you're cooking on gas and you beat your competitor for 5, 6, 7, 8 instructions, your average fees rocking around. But by Monday morning, you can be absolutely in the doldrums because you've had 3 fall through and a complaint and a member of staff resign. So you have to be mentally robust. You've got to be able to communicate. And I mean, the problem is there's no real one. If you speak to my good friend Stephen Brown, it's marginal gains. I think there's lots of little things that make up a good estate agent, but I think you're asking me to put a finger on one. And I think if I was, it is that robustness to just keep going on for the goal no matter what. You know, to just pursue whatever it is you've said you're going to pursue.
Yeah, I don't mind. You know, I wasn't actually looking for the if you like the one trait. The series of ingredients that can make up impressive leaders, aren't there in here? And I think you've named a few of those there before. That one you named just a moment ago is the one that frustrates me the most. Is the one that there still might be really good business people, but they're the ones that will take every one of their staff's triumphs as their own, and actually they will displace any blame, at the first opportunity on them. That one is a particularly unseemly characteristic I've seen around a number of places.
Yeah, look, and unless you are an exceptional operator, if you're operating that style of leadership, there is only a certain amount that you can grow because you will have a turnover of staff that will prohibit you.
Yeah.
It's yes, you can't. I look for people that are happy to take the blame when the shit hits the fan, but will stand aside and allow others to take the glory when there's successes. It doesn't matter who gets the public accolade. What matters is the outcome from all of that, which is more profits, better lifestyle.
Well, it is important to let those people grow, isn't it? I mean, for them to feed off that acknowledgement, that accomplishment, to grow into space. Again, we all want to feel like we're progressing, and so that's why sometimes just letting somebody else get the limelight is an important feature, isn't it?
I don't even think getting someone else the limelight. I think making sure you actually create the limelight and shine it right on them. It's part of developing other people. But if you develop other people to the level where they're either better than you or as good as you, the business no longer needs you. And that, if you can create an income without your input, I mean, what apart from being a professional athlete and getting paid to do that, I mean, I can't think of anything more more rewarding than picking up an income or a dividend or whatever it is as a business owner, when in reality you're not having to do anything because you've created a whole plethora of other leaders. So yeah, I think the sort of blame game, the we're shit because of you rather than we're shit because of me is a very poor leadership trait, and therefore the reverse is a strong one. And only the strongest and most robust of people are internally able to do that. I'm not going to name names, but I know one guy that's just got that in spades. He just absolutely takes responsibility for everything and just fixes it. He just fixes it. But when the fix goes well, it's always his team that have produced the result. He's the one in the background.
By the way, it's very kind of you to talk about me. In what does a lot of people will know? Obviously they know about a consultant, but they won't have used a consultant before. So how does the process, or how does your process work in terms of identifying if you can help and how you go about it? And I appreciate there are different, challenges, but on the whole, how do you get started with a client?
Typically through what I would call a free consultation to understand what their goals are, what sort of sweat they're prepared to put in to achieve their goals, and just doing a little bit of fact finding to work out whether there's a client relationship to be had or not, because there's no point in pursuing something or them pursuing you if you're not going to say yes, or you pursuing them if you really don't want the gig. Or they're not going to respond to what you're doing. So you have an exploratory conversation where, obviously they've been over Zoom these days rather than necessarily meeting. I would then normally move to the next stage where I would do some sort of business MOT, where I would go into the business, pick it apart under various different headings, and create what I would call like a growth plan, if that was the requirement of the brief. And provide that plan to the senior team, and the senior team would then either go and deliver that, which is fine, that's a one-off project, or in most cases they typically want the help to take the plan, strategize the plan, implement the plan, and put it in place. Because I meet a lot of people that get lots of great ideas. There's fabulous content. I mean, over COVID-19, the amount of content to soak up as an estate agent has been, the library of webinars and documents and things. It's almost impossible to take them all in. And some of the people are providing, absolutely outstanding advice and guidance.
Again, thank you.
But how do you do it? You've got to do it. You've got to. Are you saying? Did you say thank you?
Yeah, I said again, thank you. You don't have to name it.
Yeah, I'm sure you have, Simon. We all know that underneath all that, you're the most intelligent person I know. Underneath all of that ridiculousness, but So yeah, so sometimes it's not knowing what to do. It's having the accountability, which is perhaps what a consultant can sometimes provide, is the accountability to take action to make the growth happen or make the change happen. If you've got somebody else to answer to, that you have to embarrassingly pick up the call on a Monday morning accountability call and say, did you do A, B, and C? And they say, well, actually, no, I was too busy to do it. It's like, okay, but when your staff were too busy to do that, this is what you told me about those staff. So accountability implementation is a key thing that a consultant should be able to provide for you.
And that's fair to say, and that's where a lot of, there are a lot of trainers, consultants out there, and a lot of them can do the inspirational bit, but without holding their essentially their clients, their students, whatever, mentees to task. A lot of it just, you let them off the hook, don't you?
Yeah, we do. I do now very little, or get involved, or would endorse very little of what I call one-off hit classroom training, because I just don't see how it works. I like what people like Property Academy do. You're constantly with them. They're taking you through the processes. They're certainly helping you with some real good blue sky thinking. I like what the Able Agent do, because it's a process. You go through a planned process with them. The agency mentor models do the same thing. But as a consultant, it either really is a one-off project, give it to them and they deliver it, or it's a deliver the project and then get involved in deliver it. And personally, my enjoyment comes from seeing the plan come to life. It's financially rewarding doing the one hit, here's the report, off you go. But actually the psychological reward for a coach, if you want to call it a coach or a mentor, is watching the plan come to life and turn into the objective. The objective might be to double turnover, it might be to reduce staff turnover, it might be to get time back for the MD, it might be a little bit of all of those things. But it's very rewarding when your plan escalates to the outcome that everybody said they were looking for. So that's what a consultant should be doing for you. And I personally engage. I'd like to think that most of my clients are now friends, as well as they move beyond just being a financial arrangement. You move into being, you're fond of them and you care. You care about their success.
If you're anything like me, you'll try and steal their awards as your own as well.
Yeah, maybe. I haven't done that yet, but I'll write that down in my little book of things that I might need to look at. But no, I genuinely care about the clients, and I'd like to think they probably genuinely care about me. So that's important. I think that's important. If it's a long-term relationship, most of the businesses that I set out with, however long it was 5 years ago, they're still there. I still work with them, which should be some testament to the result I'm getting for them, and B, the relationship we have with them.
One of the things I always really liked about you, when I saw the way you managed and did that consultancy, on a number of occasions, not that many, but you would be quite honest with somebody and say, look, I don't feel like, you kind of maxed out with my kind of, with what I'm able to do for you now. And you've kind of just said, it might even be worth having talking to this consulting and getting a different flavor. How often does that actually happen in effect, whereby you say, look, I've kind of given you all of my input, my experience at this stage, or because you're holding them because you're holding them to task, is that the most important thing?
That varies from business to business, Simon, because you've got some businesses that are good at their own accountability. You take Bal Gore's, accountability is not a problem in that business. They have accountability in spades. Another business might be that accountability is a particular challenge for the business owner because they don't want to hold people accountable, and that's an ongoing thing. That's a very different scenario. But it is fair to say that there is so much change in the market at the moment. There's always something for a consultant to be doing, but it is only fair as a consultant, if you are genuinely honest and hand on heart, if there is somebody else that can bring and expedite the journey to the goal, who isn't me, then it is better for me to step aside for a period of time or forever. I'd rather they got to the goal and we had a great relationship about them getting for the goal. Some people will take me all the way and I will take them all the way to the goal. In other cases, they might need to slow down with me for a period of time and then come back in. So, quite a lot of clients might start off very heavy with my time, and it's quite a costly thing. And that time might reduce over a period of time, but then they might go through another period of growth or another change in their business where the time picks up again, and they say, Iain, can we actually engage a bit more with you now? And it's quite common, but I think that comes from just an honest. You just got to be honest with people about what's the right solution, not what's the one that makes you the most money.
They don't want to. They want just because they don't want to hear the hard stories or the hard truth. Sometimes, do they?
The ones that don't want to hear the hard truths tend not to make it past the point where we're discussing whether we do or don't work with them, because I am a hard truths guy. I don't know if you've seen, obviously you're 5-star rated, as you would have to be on a site. Did you see Amy's video testimonial of you? I saw that she said that she used to be petrified of me, if that's the bit you're referring to. Yeah.
I was going to open with, why are you so scary? But I thought even you might take that. So Iain, why are you so scary? Why do you scare so many people?
I don't know if I do. I mean, obviously I do. I did Amy.
You used to terrify me, and I mean, there's Paul Mackay. There's you. There's a few. I've got a special list, as I've said, and you were very firmly on that list. But you must know. Is it something that you work on?
No. In fact, I find it. I know Chris Watkins will use the term Marmite, and I don't know whether to find that. I don't even know whether that's offensive or not. Part of me thinks, really, do I offend people? I don't set out to offend people, but I'm not going to pull punches because I just don't think that's fair.
I can't imagine you have ever toned down your opinion in any shape or form. Because
I don't think that's honest. So maybe it's brutally honest, and maybe that's part of the problem. I frown when I smile. I mean, maybe that's part of it. I absolutely won't suffer fools gladly. So maybe there are some fools out there that might, have had the sharp end of my tongue because they've said something silly or in my opinion silly, sorry, to be fair. So no, I don't set out to be scary. It's not
a ball breaker, basically. It just comes effortlessly to you. It probably comes from your Leeds football background, but we'll come back to that later on. You're involved in recruitment. You got, as I said, I when we had you on the podcast with Mr. Mintz, I accused you of being the Godfather, and then I gave up the rest of it because you'd never actually watched the film. First of all, well done. Oh no, well done. That's my consultancy. That's what you pay the £5,000 and 1 pence for there. But you are involved in a lot of different businesses, and one of the key ones there is in terms of recruitment. If I was to actually put you in the hot seat of a couple of businesses, I'd be fascinated to get your view on them at the moment. If you don't want to answer, don't do it. But given you were there, what would you do now if you're in the hot seat at Countrywide? What would you be doing?
Break it up and sell it.
Really, it's as simple as that. Just the sum of the total of the is worth more than its share price. That which of course is actually what Paul Smith said at Spice Art.
I think I'd break it up and sell it. Maybe keep a couple of the core brands and start again. I think it's beyond. I think it's. Well, I don't think they're going to attract the right CEO that's capable. And if they did, it would be underfunded. I think it needs such radical, brave decisions to remodel and reimagine that business. That's a Peter Knight. I love that statement from Peter Knight. Reimagining. Countrywide needs to reimagine itself. But the problem is with Countrywide, they're not reimagining themselves from where everybody else is. They're reimagining themselves from where everybody was 25 years ago.
Yeah.
So I can't. Yes, I think I'd be brutally honest and say to the board, look, this is let's cut our losses here. Let's sell what we can, and either sell and cease and desist. Yeah. And come back in with the pile of cash if that's what it creates once the debt's paid.
You know what they should do? They should reimagine it like as a retail business. I think.
I'm going to be quite open here. I'm not entirely sure the strategy was wrong. I think the implementation was terrible.
Did you know what? A lot of people did throw, I mean, obviously a huge amount of rocks there. Not all of that, as so often, the way that people had a load, a massive go at the online agents. And actually, what's fascinating these days is you look about how much traditional agents have borrowed, been borrowed or stolen, of the technology in particular, you know, moving to a more hybridized model. And you'll see that actually, yeah, again, there's always a lesson to be learned, isn't there, from whatever's out there?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think it's a shame. I think it would be good for the industry if Countrywide can survive and ultimately thrive, because I think it, you know, if we're really honest with ourselves, apart from the fact they're independent and the debt isn't in the same size, if you actually added up a lot of independent small businesses and put them to the side, they're in just as deep a hole. It's just that they're individual little holes. They probably are a little bit more agile in the way they can respond to trouble and strife, whereas Countrywide always uses the size problem as a reason to do nothing. I think that's a weakness in its. I think that's just a weakness in its leadership, I suppose. Sorry if you're listening. But the simple fact is, you know, that they need to make decisions that I believe are bigger than the people that are in charge of those decisions. So I know what I would do if I was there, but ultimately, and the decision was to keep it. But
yeah, just wait for the call. Just wait for the call.
They couldn't afford me, Simon. So I think that one's out.
So one thing I'd say on that is when the whole online conversation was going on, and it's the trend of, you know, how much of the market could online get. For me, there was a far more demonstrable change on the structure of our industry, which was at that stage, Countrywide obviously being the biggest. The mergers and acquisitions strategy, the trend to scoop up the mid-sized agents, let's say 5 offices up to kind of 20, was really turning ourselves into a completely, you mentioned a spectrum. There was becoming a very, very small amount of agents in the middle. And yes, there was a huge long tail, as there's always been a 1 and 2 office agencies. And then just these massive behemoths, these oil tanker corporates. Now, that stopped with the letting fee ban to start off with, but actually is almost, with a few exceptions, obviously, a stop there. Do you think once they get back on an even keel, do you think we will see that start to happen again, though? Do you think that's just the inevitable business rule of the big get bigger?
I think there is probably a sort of natural cycle of the big get big, 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 then they get incompetent and they collapse, and then it rebuilds again through regional players like the Romans, the Balgors, these guys that have got multiple offices, Martin Gerrard. These type of businesses are destined to grow, I would imagine. Well, not imagine, they are destined to grow. And of course, the challenge is, can you grow but maintain your speed, your I always used to get frustrated on the inside of Countrywide that scale was used as an excuse. For me, the bigger you are, surely it should empower you to make quicker, faster, more aggressive decisions. And I think it was a folly. I think that was an excuse to abstain from tough decisions. So, and of course, lots of businesses get into that place. You'll see very few businesses that maybe did a Romans that get bigger and bigger and bigger, but maintain that elite status, because, where do you get that? You've got to have more elite people. You've got to, how do you maintain accountability across 1,000 people as opposed to 50 people? It's a more difficult thing. It's a much more difficult thing. So I think there is a natural cycle in that, but and I think clearly we are going through a cycle at the moment where the regional players with the 5 to 10 offices are absolutely clearly in a very strong position. There are some very good individual one-office businesses that are absolutely caning it, but it does not. We do not appear to be in a place where either the corporates have either got their act together enough, or I don't know. I also sense that COVID-19 has pushed people away from big corporations into local people anyway.
Yeah.
Buy local, buy British, go to the local butchers. There seems to be a little bit of a feeling of sort of neighbourhood, cultural spirit, community. So I think that's helping the smaller agents anyway. Particularly those that know how to play that game, and there are a few that do it absolutely. You'll know of one very well who does it brilliantly. So I don't think it's. I think we're in that part of the cycle. But the other problem that the corporates have from the recruitment perspective is they don't recruit the best. They recruit everybody else's cast-offs. So how intrinsically there's a problem there, isn't there? If you've got anybody that's any good in the corporate leaves to go independent, and anybody that's any good in the independent world stays there, and the people that get fired from the independent world they tend to typically find themselves in the corporate space. Well, that if you liken that to a football team, if all the superstars go from there to there, and all the not so good players go from there to there, the results will change.
Over a period of time, it's inevitable, isn't it? Did you see the Property Industry Eye story on Monday, where one of the investment funds was talking about, and I was really surprised, I think they own about 7% of Countrywide shares, and he was actually suggesting, not least, in fact, recommending that actually they should be looking to set aside 15% of the shares to award to the staff to give them real skin in the game and ownership. Is that far too Corbynistic and Simon Wales champagne socialistic, or can you see merit in something like that?
No, I absolutely see merit in something like that. I think it's those sort of radical decisions that need to be thought through. I mean, and that's what I mean by strength of leadership. How can a board that's got however many £1 million worth of loss say, for example, let's double the salary of our managers? Because it's the sort of decision that needs to happen.
Yeah.
But let's demand more from them as a result. Obviously, giving people ownership. We know that the self-employed model is definitely gathering pace in the UK. We see that with our recruitment business, that a much higher percentage of people now are only interested in self-employed. It's still not by any means as big as the employed sector, but it was tiny pre-COVID-19. It's now a factor. It's a proper piece of the pie. And an element of that is, well, okay, I can't go self-employed. I don't want to be employed, but can I get some equity? Can I get some shares? Can I be like the Waitrose and the John Lewis? So, of course, I think, and there are people that are definitely really, really good and much more suited to the corporate world than they are the entrepreneurial independent world. There are just people that are corporate by nature, and there are people that are more independent, less rule bound. But yes, I think you would attract better people if there was a genuine piece of the pie. Not only better people that then behave with pride because they feel it's a bit more of their thing. But I don't know, and I don't want to insult the people that work in some of these big corporates, but I don't see any pride. I don't see any pride in their job. They're there for a salary. there's no intention to be there for 10, 15, 20 years. There's no intention to. It's just a means to pay the bills.
So Iain, you just mentioned this. If you were opening up today, and I'm sure a lot of people would be grateful you're not, would you be going down, say, a Keller Williams style route, or would you be opening up a traditional agency, an online agency? Where would you, if it was your own money you were investing, what would be the model for success that you would be backing?
Have a look at Richard James's model. Have a look at Mark Myers' model, Myers Estates, location. I mean, it's in between the two.
Yeah.
Local branding, local branding with the ability to work employed or self-employed, with great leadership, great training. You know, UMove, I think, is EWE Move. I think they've got a very good model that works. Not a fan of the sheep, but I think the actual model that they have is. So look, I think there are some really good things going on. Maybe we should create a hub style agency and show everyone how to do it. But the
phone me after.
It definitely, for an investment or to work.
I'm not working anywhere for anyone.
I definitely don't see it as a high street business with a shop in every high street anymore. Yeah. But I don't think self-employed is the answer. I think you give people the option. And I think you have two different, if you want to work with me, these are the two. You can be employed. You have to pass my standards. You have to be aligned to my culture. You have to meet my standards. I was on the phone to a guy today who's got big client who's got big goals big goals in terms of his expansion. And the reason I think he'll make the grade is because of his ability and willingness to turn people down that want to join him. Well, because the barrier to entry there is high, and therefore all of a sudden the people that want to join that particular operation understand that but if you just make it free to everyone, you just come along, we'll accept anyone with a head, which some of these operations are. It is just sign here. We're not really going to test you. You're interviewing us. This guy is absolutely of the view that and I would be as well if it was my model. It would be the barrier to entry would be high, the rewards would be high. And you'd find out why I was scary if you didn't deliver. Somebody
you would know that is your old compadre as well, Mr. Ellis as well. So he's broken from his lobster class to wish you well. And Andy Overman has just jumped in with tough love is essential. I don't know whether he's commenting on the Countrywide story there or just expressing his own personal interest. But either way, he's agreeing with your straight talking. He says in 1995, Countrywide were the brand to work for, best training, systems and processes, and they just didn't evolve. If you can't scale and maintain your core values, you'll fail too. And then he always has to let himself down right at the end. Champagne socialist never anyway there. So, okay. So let's turn it around that just slightly. I mentioned we would have a couple of different job roles for you. And this one's hopefully it's going to be a bit better paid for you. So you're the boss of Rightmove now. What's the first thing you do?
Oh my word. That's a massive conversation, because as the boss of Rightmove, my obligation would be to Rightmove. Yes, we need to be aware that there is an agenda shift here. Right now,
the argument is you would be looking after the shareholders by defending their long-term future. So that gives you a certain degree of leeway.
Well, other than the fact that shareholders, as you are a shareholder of various entities, so am I, we don't think long-term, we think short-term gain.
I take a Japanese view, 20 years, mate. That's why I own shares.
Look, I think I would have to be considering finding a way to charge agents that is fair. I would also have to create some innovation, because even if you take the charging model out of it, let's just say that Rightmove said they're going to continue with the discounted rate. Well, I don't know what it is now. It's about 60% of normal rate. Yeah. So let's say that they say, well, actually, guys, we've decided that the rate you're on now is the rate forever.
Yeah.
I think most agents would be initially very happy with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously Rightmove would have to reassess its forecasting and have to think about how it could raise other incomes, which are fine. So let's just say that was the starting point. Then the problem is that I believe that the portal process is a little bit like Countrywide. It's just yesterday's news. So I think they've got to find a way to help estate agents become slicker. Every estate agent I'm working with at the moment or speaking to or that wants to possibly engage, they're tripping up their backsides on volumes of leads that they can't cope with. The portals need to help them cope with the leads, help them with automation, help them genuinely charge for it, but charge fairly for it. Agents will pay because they're ringing me up to say, who do I get involved to automate this? Who do I get involved to deal with this leads? Are there outsourced people that will handle my Rightmove calls? Should I build a call center? Should I build something like the Balgors or Romans or other agents that have got these lovely Foxtons?
Client service departments.
So I think I would evolve the product to add more value to the estate agents. I definitely would change my stance on how upselling of products was dealt with when the agent wanted to go the other way, because I think that's almost as criminal as criminal. I might need a good look. I might need a good look at the word criminal, but
what you mean is, it's very difficult to downgrade, isn't it? It's easy to upgrade, and
to be fair, lawyers or not, it's a scam. It's a scam. I go and see the guy from Rightmove, or the guy from Rightmove comes in and sees me, or the lady from Rightmove comes in and sees me. I'm currently giving them £1,000 a month. They persuade me to take product A, B, C, and D, and my cost goes up to £1,500 a month. After 3 months, 6 months, or whatever contract I've signed, I decide that I don't want those products anymore. It's impossible to go back to £1,000 a month because they've rejigged it. You save £20 and lose all the product. That is an abuse of their position. I actually find that personally, because I don't think Rightmove is expensive. I'm going to be, I've said that openly.
By the way, I've spoken to a lot of them, and admittedly, they may be at agents that have a good deal, but they say, that for us, they will never tell the account manager this, but from an ROI perspective, they know it delivers. It's the way that they're treated. They, not thought about. It's the lack of empathy there as well. But some of them have even gone as far as saying they wish they would put it up for everyone because it would drive, out a number of the competition and leave them on there.
Yeah, look, the haves, the big agents with the 35, when I say big, I mean, it doesn't have to be big in terms of numbers of branches, but the agents with the 35, 40% profit margins would be happy for the cost to go up because it would squeeze out the competition. But Rightmove have a problem that, a significant number of their clients can't afford them anymore. So the Rightmove think it's a decision to be on or off, and you'll lose your business if you come off. These guys are going to lose their business if they stay on. They can't afford 20% of their turnover to be going to Rightmove. It's just not possible. So
is it fair to place all of that at Rightmove's door, though, if they don't have the margins to afford what is could be argued their largest source of leads?
No, it absolutely isn't fair to blame Rightmove because it's the business owners. But what I'm saying to Rightmove is, if you kill them, they won't be able to pay you, whether they're good, bad, or big businesses. Now, Rightmove don't give a shit whether they take money off of great businesses or shit businesses. They don't care. And neither would I, frankly. Neither would you, neither would anybody else. But if they kill the businesses that are on the borderline, there is a lot of businesses that are, in reality, insolvent. They are trading on credit cards. They're trading with debt. They're not trading on profit. So if Rightmove don't understand that, and there is a massive consolidation within the industry, that their own golden goose is being clipped by them.
Yeah. Do you think? You deal with a lot of other businesses as well. You're involved with the ICG group. Come a bit later on there, but do you think the charging per office model is inherently broken and a part of the problem? Because it's very hard these days. As you said, there is a big difference between somebody like, obviously a Foxton style office with 60 people in it and your traditional high street office there. So do you think it needs to, a lot of people have gone down the charging model just because Rightmove and the portals charge on an office, they've copied that. But do you think that the end is coming for that sort of charging process?
I think charging per office is fine if it's what I call a so what cost. Let's say it's £100 or less.
Yeah.
I think charging per office doesn't really matter. Very few members in the ICG charge per office. They either charge per user or they charge per sector or postcode or territory. There's not many, repeater per user. Yondella per chat, so it doesn't matter whether you're a big agent with millions of people on your site, you pay more than the little guy with very few. So they all naturally work out very, very fair, as long as you've agreed the price and you're happy with the price. And I think there is a place for pay per office when it's a very low cost number.
Yeah.
But if it's a very expensive part of your, it's a very big part of your costs, it is of course unfair for an office with 20 people in it to pay the same price as an office with 3.
Yeah.
And of course, an office with 3 therefore has the problem that it's listing less properties, it's selling less properties, renting less properties. So the percentage going out to the supplier in that instance is far greater than the other guy, which is why you've got the guy that's only paying a small percentage happy for the price to go up, because it's killing the people that are probably, in most cases, maybe lower fee agents. Maybe they've got these lower fee agents might have a little bit more roots in the local community, so they pick up some core instructions that the bigger guys would like. So you've got a disbalance between. It's not a fair system. It just isn't a fair system. And of course, if I was sat there as the CEO of one of the big guys, I'd be very happy for Rightmove to put their fees up. If I was sat in my hub today with my 10 self-employed brokers working for me but getting paid a fortune, I'd want to protect those 10 brokers until with my dying breath, to make sure that they were efficient, profitable, and wanted to stay on board my ship. So I'd be negotiating as hard as I could. But I think intrinsically, what would I do is, if I was the CEO of Rightmove, the model's broken anyway, so they have to change. They've got to change the technology. They've got to change the relationship. They've got to change the charging model. They're not seeing the financial constraints of Countrywide at the moment, but they need to be looking at businesses like who are the video businesses where you used to go and rent your video off them? What are they called?
Blockbuster.
They need to look at Blockbuster and say, at one point they ruled the universe in that space. They need to look at WH Smith, who ruled the book sales market. They all came to an end because they didn't see the future. Rightmove are a fantastic business. Brilliant.
You caught me out there. Well, my first reply was going to be RedTube, and then I thought that wasn't what you were going on about. So,
I have to let a shut live, because I don't know what I can guess what RedTube is based on it being something you mentioned, but I don't actually know what RedTube is.
Okay, good. Don't go looking whilst you're on it was. So, Fan just jumped in as well. He's just asked here, just on that subject though. He says, "What impact do you think the challenging portals will have in the market, Iain?" And Andy Overman with a similar thing. Do you think that Rightmove will follow One Dome Home Search and shift their offering to the periphery services? Questions for both, whilst delivering leads to agents for free. What's your thoughts in terms of the challenger brands at the moment?
Well, Rightmove are already in the periphery space. It's just that for some reason the estate agents let them off. I mean, they are selling mortgages, they are selling your data, they are, so they're already in that space. They just don't share the money with you. Whereas people like One Dome and I think Home Search and the others do share that pot of gold with you, or at least do it with your permission and point the leads in the right place. No, I don't think Rightmove will change their model to be free to list and then sell the peripheries, because they're already selling the peripheries. So no is the answer to that, and unless they're forced through the effect. And to answer Fam's question, I think the jury's out on that. I don't know. It really comes down to the strength of the estate agents. If the estate agents are so fearful of not being on Rightmove, then the one thing that will maintain is Rightmove's dominance will be maintained. Until something comes along that they all feel that they can make a move to and from, or Rightmove becomes that model. Because let's be honest, the best solution for all of us is that the Zooplers and the Rightmoves actually create and reimagine themselves, to use Peter Knight's statement, to be fit for purpose. That actually is the best outcome. I think some of the challenger portals have got some really good stuff going on. They're getting traction in terms of people taking them up. And the traction now has moved beyond just a spite Rightmove traction. It is actually the model works. It's creating revenue. One Dome's model creates revenue for agents. It's creating leads. It's free. It hasn't got some of the things that maybe had. There was a bit of a dogma around the data, etc. Well, all of it's just smoke and mirrors. It's not true. It's a completely transparent environment. I think the others are as well, by the way. So I think they'll have some impact, but whether that impact is total will depend on what Rightmove do in terms of the charging model when the discount period comes to an end, and what Rightmove and Zoopla, for that matter, do in terms of innovation to help estate agents solve other problems. But when you've got a client base that universally is using you because they have to, not because they want to, that can't continue.
Okay.
It's got to be.
Zoe's just done Zoe Snide. Rightmove do not sell mortgages; they sell they have third-party advertising, which is different.
Which is fair. I mean, that Zoe is correct, but ultimately, an agent can have a mail out go out to people that have registered, and make no mistake, there are financial services businesses doing the same thing. So it's not just advertising, Zoe. But yes, you are quite right, and I shall slap myself on the wrist. They're not selling mortgages direct, but they are putting your traffic.
Very impressed by that. I was hoping for the nasty, the tough face of Iain, the ball breaker, again to come out there. So that's a bit disappointing.
No, if you're wrong, you're wrong. She's right. The Rightmove do not sell mortgages; they allow third-party advertising. What may not be as known is that the data is still being manipulated to get leads to other mortgage people, and not manipulated. That's the wrong word. It's available to them in the same way it's available to the other estate agents to send out to these people. And of course, those businesses take advantage of it. Why wouldn't they?
Iain, you spoke earlier about some of these great businesses, the Martin Gerards, the Foxtons, the Romans. How important is a client services department? And is there a size of agency that you really have to be thinking about having one?
There's definitely a size of agency before it's cost effective. Yes, I mean, because you can't have a client services division of one person. So, well, you can, but it's a BD, it's business development person. But if you're going to have a group of people that either deal with certain inbound and deal with prospecting, etc., there is a certain size before, unless you've got 6 to 7 offices, I think it's probably not viable. I think it becomes almost impossible to operate, not to have one, or for it not to be commercially viable to have one once you're at about 15, 20 offices. I think you really need your own centre. But of course, you build those centres with a view to reducing headcount elsewhere. So you should, if you do it correctly, you should end up with a streamlined business, better customer service, lower costs, not just adding in a call centre. And a lot of people now are obviously, using them for both prospecting and also inbound, because agents are absolutely struggling to deal with the tsunami of just inbound leads. It's just incredible what's happening.
Yeah, I keep making the point. They're not short on leads. They are short with the capability to deal with those leads. Do you, Dale, your old mentor and boss, said if he'd had any regrets, it was that he hadn't started that Romans Direct earlier and everything else there. What would you say is the biggest mistake you can make when trying to kick off a client services department, as you did obviously when you were there?
What's the biggest mistake you can make by having one?
Yeah, what do you have to avoid? When you're starting?
I mean, very simply, the maths is pretty straightforward. You have to avoid achieving the same results over a bigger headcount. So it's very easy for a network of branches to suddenly decide that prospecting is no longer their problem because there's a client services division. So a business that was creating 200 valuations a month is still creating 200 valuations a month. Just 100 are coming from the branch network and 100 are coming from client services. If you're doing 200 valuations a month and you're going to build a client services division, you need to cost that client services division and work out how many extra valuations you need and make damn sure that you drive, target and resource correctly, so that if you get the extra 50 valuations, which might need to lead to 40 instructions, which might lead to 30 sales, those 30 sales have to equal more than the cost of the operation. So it's having a very clear, defined genuine step change in your performance. So it's that straightforward for me. You need a step change in performance, or accept that you're going to be less profitable but deliver a better service if that's the goal that you want from the client services.
Is what you're talking about here one of the biggest failures of many agencies? Is that lack of control over and understanding of their own numbers?
For some businesses, yes, and for other businesses, maybe they go so far the other way that the numbers actually paralyze them. I think there's actually both ends of that scale. I think you can become so blinded by numbers that you're just too scared to move. I think you're so ignorant to numbers that you tend to make. I'm not going to name anybody, but I know of people that I have worked with, that sometimes will make decisions purely on instinct. And I think it's good if you can just get instinct backed up. I mean, I'm an instinctive type of person. I will typically go with instinct over any other form of evidence. But it's really good if you're going to make a big decision that's going to cost a couple of £1 million or whatever it is over the next 2 years. It would be good if you could just make it, just get the accountants to just do a little bit of checking for you about what you need at the other end, and what the cash flow is through there, and what your real goals and aspirations for whatever project it is you're trying to do. But yes, I do think that there are some businesses that don't know enough about their numbers or what the numbers actually mean, and there are some people that know so much about their numbers that they allow the numbers to dominate their own thinking.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So, what would be the top 3 things you would be doing in this market now? Obviously, we've got it. We've come back. We've gone straight into a little bit of a boom. Richie's given the news we needed with the stamp duty. So, but still, we're in a fairly precarious place because obviously a lot of people haven't brought back all their staff and everything else. What would the 3 things you would be doing in this market?
The first thing I would do would be to make sure that I have reimagined what my business is going to look like, both structurally and in terms of customer delivery, the points. And I would make the necessary changes that I feel is right for the new world. I would get all the wrong people off the bus, and I would get the right people on the bus. So I would deal with the recruitment piece, and I would make sure that my my people, the people that worked with me, were absolutely on point with whatever journey that we've written down. If we've got a plan and the plan is X, I would make sure they were involved in it, they were indoctrinated into it, that they would walk on broken glass to achieve it, and that they were totally bought into it, and were part of the creation of the plan. But I think it's a shame because I'm already seeing estate agents through, looking for investment properties. I'm seeing estate agents that have just shut down and reopened, and it's as if nothing's changed. They're just doing the same thing. They're interacting with me as a consumer wanting to view a property or wanting to offer on a property in exactly the same way that they did before. And it's like really? I mean, it's good for the people that are doing it right, but it's sad that these people just haven't seen that the world has just changed. I mean, it's changed. It's just changed.
It's changed more than, as you said, than warrants just falling back into old habits, doesn't it? Because they are going to get caught out in fairly short order by those companies that have learnt the efficiencies and learnings from this.
Yeah, and I just think it was such a fabulous opportunity to say, I'm just not going to do what I always did. I'm now going to do what I needed to do. It was such a great opportunity. But if anybody thinks that customer requirement is the same as it was, it just isn't. Yeah. The customers need different things from us now. They need my phone's out of charge and I'm in trouble for it. Did you hear that?
So the top 3 things you do: charge your battery.
Yeah, charge your battery regularly. I've forgotten where we are now because my battery's out of charge. So all of that's very, very important, I think.
Yeah. So what are the obviously again your job as much as anything is to keep an eye on the suppliers that are out there. What suppliers catch your eye at the moment?
Oh man, too many. Look, I love. I'm slightly impartial because of the ICG, and obviously I like all the people that are in it.
Yeah, you're not doing an Oscars style where they read them all out now.
I can't remember them all. So. Look, I think anything to do with outsourcing, rather than mention names and then either get upset the people that I don't mention or get accused of bias, I think outsourcing is something estate agents need to look at. I think automation is something estate agents need to look at. And if you want to know who the best in class are in those, just go to the ICG approved website and you'll get a good hint on what I believe is the best in class. I appreciate others might challenge that. So I think outsourcing and automation are very good things to allow estate agents to get on with the act of being estate agents and then go and recruit people that are proper estate agents, guys and girls know how to build relationships, they know how to have empathy, they know how to care, they know how to drive, they know how to not give up, they've got that robustness we talked about earlier. Go and get those people on the bus and give them the right systems, processes, software, whatever it is you need. But I like anything that will automate, outsource, simplify. But with any supplier, I think you've got to ask you the question: does it make my customer's life easier? Yes or no. Does it make my life easier? Yes or no. Can I afford it? Yes or no. And slowly, but I think people do buy stuff just because someone else has.
Yeah, keeping up with the Joneses.
I think there's an element of that, isn't there?
Yeah.
You know, there's an element of that. So it's like, you know, does it really make a difference to my customer? And is that difference positive? If it is, right, let's move it to the next stage. Does it make my team's life easier? Does it give me more time back, make me more efficient, and therefore save me money in another way? If the answer is yes, move to the next point. Can I afford it? If it does those two things and you can afford it, then have it. If it doesn't do either of those two things, or it does do those two things but you can't afford it, then don't have it.
Yeah,
don't have it.
Cool, Iain. Okay, thank you. Well, look, you've been really, really kind again, giving our lovely Kerfuffle members a special deal. So, as I understand it, you're open to giving them a free hour consultancy. Is that right, over Zoom, to any independent estate agency business in the UK? You're probably
giving Countrywide a free consultancy. I'm not sure they're going to today anyway.
One for each of their branches.
If anybody wants to get in touch with me through your, however you want to do it, I mean, I don't know how you set it up, but if they want to,
you're on there. Anyone can go to Iain White on there as a consultant. You can see obviously what people to say. There's a great video review there from Mark Mayer, one of the great agents that you've spoken about before. Tom McGee's written one about you. Tom McGee, big fan of the show, and I'm a big fan of his. Just had a fascinating exploratory call with Iain. He's clearly extremely knowledgeable about the industry and has had great suggestions for our future growth. Well, he's a man that knows his Tom.
Who was that?
Tom McGee.
So yeah.
It's going to really make it awkward now if you said I've never spoken to him.
No. We had, he took advantage of a free consultation. That's why he wrote that nice review, I believe. So thank you, Tom.
Yeah, it is. Well, look, personally, I don't know many people, in fact, any people who can do what you do. That voodoo that you do, Iain, again, is absolutely spectacular. So, yeah, go and have a look. If you're interested, just click on the I'm interested button on the landing page, and we'll obviously forward any queries to you. And in the meantime, we'll leave Andy Overman, who likes to have the last word. Actually, no, he can't have the last word. Let's do Gary Hardy, great sessions guide. Good, honest advice as always, Iain. So big fans from you. Great to hear from you again, Iain. Keep staying honest.
Will do. Thanks very much, guys. Cheers for having me.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.